In a finance presentation, you are mostly there to speak about the results, to speak about what you discovered. It's not really a TED talk neither. You have to be at ease, but you do not have need to be the next Simon Sinek neither. It's important to know this difference. But again, practice is the only way to at least feel more at ease with presenting and getting your nerves a bit down.
That is absolutely another fire moment right there. That's fire. Practice, practice, practice. Practice makes perfect. Hello, everyone. My name is Chris Ortega, CEO of Fresh FP&A, and I'm here today for another Collectiv Conversation. Really excited for this conversation. We're going to be talking with Soufyan Hamid, and we're going to be talking about mastering the art of presentations for finance and FP&A professionals. Soufyan, welcome to Collectiv Conversations.
Thank you for having me, Chris. I'm really excited to be there as well.
Nice. So I think one of the first things is, like, obviously you're a thought leader and a master when it comes to making finance and FP&A professionals do kick-ass presentations. What is one thing that you think about a presentation that a finance person gives that could be like a key, like, game-changing takeaway? That way they can take their presentations to the next level.
One thing that would help finance professional to develop really kick-ass presentation is not speaking finance. Finance is just a way to speak about the reality. So why not speaking about the reality of the business that you work in and for which you are a finance professional? So develop many stories about what happens in the business, how many you sold, what are the customers, what are the clients, which market you are in. Do not speak about finance jargon. This is the worst thing you can do as a finance professional to make sure you influence people.
I love your feedback on reality, right? I've grown up in accounting, finance, FP&A, and financial leadership. That reality is so different between, like, financial professionals and the business, right? So when you talk specifically about financial professionals speaking to that reality and speaking to that business language, right? That may be different. There may be like a conflict because finance, we see the numbers, we see the output, we see all the kind of like the story at the end of the story versus the business that is actually the ones writing the chapters at the beginning. So how can finance professionals bridge that conflicting reality between finance and the business and the different time points that we actually like collaborate together? How can they bridge that reality for the business? The
first bridge you have to build is between you, the finance department, and the business. In the beginning of my career, I was so interested in what I did in accounting, in finance, that I thought it was enough to understand what that means. You know, the Belgian GAAP, the US GAAP, the IFRS. Knowing about those technical aspects made me think, yeah, I know something people don't know. And this is what I call the expert syndrome. You want people to know how complex your work is. And what you have to do is going from that complexity towards the simplicity in which the business lives. And what you have to do is understand that no matter what you do, finance is only a language of what happens in the reality.
That is a fire moment, right? Finance, we have to keep it simple, right? If sometimes we're leading with our ASC 606 and how this impacts the business, or we're leading with this IFRS 15 guidance, we're going to look across the business and they're going to be like, I have no idea what you're talking about, right? I really loved your point about keeping it simple and making it like making the conversation, making the whatever data, insight, number that you're presenting to them, that you put it to a language that they can understand. That is absolutely amazing. Which leads me to my next question, right? When we talked about like, what's that one thing that they can improve upon? What are some of the common pitfalls that you see a lot of finance, FP&A, and even CFO professionals make around giving financial presentations?
You know, there's an example in my recent career when I watched a presentation made by one of my colleagues, and he was speaking about commissions that were paid to shops that were selling our products. And the first things he said was, because of IFRS 15, we cannot recognize the duration of the commission under the... I don't even remember myself how he was presenting it, but I could remember that I saw the eyes rolling of the audience, because he already lost them. And to be honest, he lost me too. So when you work in finance and you have to communicate what you saw in your results and your analysis, you have to separate the signal from the noise. And so in finance, when you have a big data analysis with thousands of lines, thousands of columns, you have a lot of noise. And if you have to explain 100% of what you saw, you will lose everybody. You have to take that 20% of information you saw that will have 80% of impact. That's the Pareto rule, which means that you have to detect what's important in terms of number, in terms of proportion, and also in terms of action. Let's say, for example, that the biggest impact of your month was due to a reversal of a provision. Yeah, that's good, but it's not really actionable for the business. They cannot do anything about it. But if you detect in your analysis that the biggest variance you saw in that month was related to a big mistake in the sales of a shop in a specific region that had impact on the other regions, well, this is important, and you have to say it, and you have to develop it the way that people will directly relate to what you say.
I think that's really, really good, right? Listen, I will raise my hand and say I'm one of the people. I get into those anecdotal conversations and you start using like level set. You start using this business jargon just because you think it's going to effectively like give your point across to your business partner. But it's just words on top of words. I remember a post that you made on LinkedIn, and you were saying something to the effect of like, some people say too much. They say a lot, but it has no meaning to it, right? And those people that have those few short words, but they choose their words, they choose their words that make an impact. I love that first point, that jargon, eliminated. And then the second point is like giving the information that's important to the business in a way that they can understand. And a lot of times we're looking at the lens from like our perspective, right? We're looking at what we would want to hear versus like putting yourself in the business's position and saying like, what is this impact and what is this information and how do I translate that importance, right? Like impact, information, importance to the business partner. Like that sort of framework is so vital. So I can see a lot of professionals, and yeah, you're calling me out, Soufyan. I made this mistake a lot in my career as well too. My next question that I want to get your insights on is like, I know people, I've used Prezi presentations, I've used PowerPoints. I've actually seen some people give presentations where they just sit there and they have one slide and they talk through it out. When you're thinking about like the most effective presentation format and median and media and strategy, what is like your insights on like, here's the most optimal presentation format, slides, like that sort of infrastructure that you have to give a great presentation? What's your insights on that?
Well, you have the people who love to put in practice 100 of slides with backups, with tables, with graphs, with text and so on, with an executive summary in the beginning, with a conclusion in the end. But you also have the other extreme where people say you do not need slides. Well, my point of view in that is that we work in finance. We are still working with data, and people are often convinced as much with what you say, with also what they see. So create some slides. You do not have to make 20 slides, 100 slides. Recently, I spoke about the rule of 10, 20, 30, 10 slides during 20 minutes and 30 font size. And this limitation will help you limit yourself to what's important. You have to think about what you are going to say, what's your message. And believe me, if you know your message and you know what you are going to say and what the conclusion would be, then 10 slides will even be too much. You do not need that much slides when you know what to say. Generally, I make an executive summary, and during the time that I show my executive summary, I already speak about the whole presentation because I know my topic. And so here, one slide would be enough. But of course, when you have to show some evolutions, some visuals, some graphs, or you want to deep dive into a topic, then the rest of the slides will be needed.
A lot of times when I give presentations, like I don't have a lot of words on my slides. I have visuals, right? Because now people can look at the visual and they're listening to you tell the story, right? Versus like them trying to look at the visual, trying to read what you're saying, trying to stay focused on you, because it's a lot of attention people are giving you, whether you're presenting virtually or you're presenting in front of a group. So I try to give my audience like less words and more about them focused on me telling the story of what those words mean. You want people to be more focused on you and you telling the story versus what your slides are saying. So I love like your principle of like the 10, 20, and 30. I think that's a great application a lot of finance professionals can take to really uplift their presentations. When you think about those first time people or that audience that, you know, they're like, man, I'm so like, I get anxiety or I get nervous when I'm presenting in front of people or public speaking. I can never see myself do that. What would be some advice for those finance professionals that may be looking to do more presentations and more interactions, but to help them get over that hump, get over that fear, get over like people are going to think I'm sound stupid? What are some best practices that you have for finance professionals to get over their fears of presenting?
Well, it's interesting you ask about that because I'm going to disappoint a lot of people. You cannot get that fear away. It never disappears, but you can act like you don't have it. And there's only one way to do it is practice. You practice in front of your colleagues, in front of peers, in front of your business partners. And if you're too shy, practice in front of your camera and look at yourself after that. It's the best way to know your defects in a presentation and to get used to it. And don't overthink it because it remains a presentation. In a finance presentation, you are mostly there to speak about the results, to speak about what you discovered. It's not really a TED talk neither. You have to be at ease, but you do not have need to be the next Simon Sinek neither. It's important to know this difference. But again, practice is the only way to at least feel more at ease with presenting and getting your nerves a bit down. But deeply, a shy person will remain shy. A timid person will remain timid. It will never change. But at least you will try not to sweat too much, not to shake too much. That's the way to do it.
That is absolutely another fire moment right there. That's fire. Practice, practice, practice. Practice makes perfect. And just to add on to what you said, I was like looking at a Harvard Business Review article, and it was a guy that done public speaking most of his professional career. And he talked about like 3 different levels that he prepares himself to practice his presentations. The first time, like he would record himself. He would listen through the recording where he will put it on mute. So he would listen to his whole presentation and it'd all be muted. And the first toll gate that he was going through was looking at his presentation, his style, his body language, his eye contact. The second time he would go through it, he would turn the video off and he would listen to how he presented himself vocally, how he was presenting, how he was using like, and all those speech fillers. He would listen to how he sound. And then the third toll gate that he would go through is he would listen to it all the way through. And he would take notes on like, oh man, I messed up here, I messed up there. And like my body language wasn't here and I missed this question or I didn't do this intro wrong. And I really love that framework because it gives you like 3 different layers of practice and perspective on how you're going to look and how you're going to present, right? So I know we're coming up into the last kind of question I want to ask you in this collective conversation is, as you look forward to 2023, like, how are you looking at the finance profession? How are you looking at the FP&A profession? How are you looking at some of the game-changing things that we should be focused on in 2023?
Well, it's interesting you ask about that, because I was thinking about that with my client today, about our objectives for 23. And today, we see a lot of people speaking about automation. We see people speaking about robotization, about artificial intelligence, machine learning. But we forget that 60%, 70% of the companies are not even there yet. They are not even mastering the tools that everybody should master. So my advice for 23 for finance professional is get there as soon as possible, master those tools so you don't lose time anymore building those reports, making those calculations, working with things that should be easy, because you have the tools to do it today. Many people cannot even use 30%, more than 30% of the efficiency and the features of Excel. And it's the same for PowerPoint. I recently made a poll on LinkedIn, and I noticed that if finance professionals don't like to work with PowerPoint, it's mostly because they don't know how to use it. They lose time on basic things that are super easy to do and that do not take much time. But because they don't know how to do it, they lose time. And so they develop a sort of fear of the tools. So definitely work on those hard skills so that you can get rid of it the fastest possible and get on what will make you really develop your career, the soft skills. Because this is the top you can reach. If you are only working on the hard skills, you will never become a director. You will never become a VP. You will never become a CFO. That's the truth. For that, you will need to develop your soft skills. But to develop your soft skills, just get rid of everything that's not needed to develop it. And the best way is to start with everything that can help you free some time to do it.
I love that, man. I love that. 2023 is all about the year of upskilling. It's all about moving out of these low value activities, moving away from what Soufyan said about the hard skills, really developing those soft skills. Thank you so much. Soufyan, if people want to follow you, learn more about how they can interact with you as an FP&A freelancer, or learn more about how to do kick-ass finance presentations, where can people follow you? Where can they learn more about you?
Definitely on LinkedIn. This is where they can find me. I'm really active. I answer to most direct messages I receive. I love to read the comments on my posts, and I always answer. So definitely, if you want to find me somewhere, this is on LinkedIn.
Thank you for that. And I would highly recommend that if you haven't already, go follow Soufyan, everything on LinkedIn. I love your posts, man. You're a fellow Super Saiyan like myself, man. We got the Goku Vegeta vibe going. So hey, man, I just want to say thank you so much for your time. And thank you for everybody that watching. Thank you for this Collectiv Conversations. Make sure to like, subscribe, and click the notification bell so that way you're informed on all future Collectiv Conversations. Soufyan, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for joining us here on Collectiv Conversations.
Thank you for inviting me. That was a pleasure, Chris.